Well, it's the first weekend of February, and you would think I was a little late for South Alabama to be starting our spring garden. But we've already got some seeds started. We're going to start the summer garden seeds now. And we figure we would just kind of bring you along and show you everything we intend to grow this year. All right, so we've got a lot of seed laid out here. Let's go over and kind of tell you what we're intending on doing with everything, with all these different types of seeds we've got. First, we'll start off with what's right in front of me. I've got some French marigolds that we traded at a seed swap a year or two ago, and we're going to use the marigolds in with our tomatoes to help deter the pest. I've already got a bunch of tomatoes started out in the greenhouse, and we're going to do a lot of greenhouse tomatoes this year to sell. My tomatoes are already this big and they're ready to go in the ground. We've got some turnips pulled out of the greenhouse this morning. We're going to go right back in and start getting those planted, and I'm excited to see how those do this year. So marigolds. We're doing a lot of extra flowers this year because we're planning on putting in a flower garden in front of our house. And some of the flowers that we're going to be putting in is canterburies, Canterbury bells, petunias. I always like petunias. They kind of grow wild around here. You'll see petunias just coming up just most anywhere. Some lavender, some zinnias. And I've seen this one, but I've never seen these before, called a gazania. And I thought those were real cool, so we snatched those up. And so I think that's going to about do it for the different types of flowers we're going to plant. Okay. Oh yeah, we got sunflowers. We have a fenced-in garden out front, and we like putting sunflowers out there to kind of help decorate it up a little bit. So we've got the Fun and Sun sunflowers. We've got mammoth sunflowers. Those are always fun to grow, to see how big you can get those. And we've got some herbs. We're going to be growing some chamomile this year, adding it into some tea. And so let's get right into some of the vegetables that we're going to be growing. I'm going all in on watermelons this year. Last year we grew Tropical Sunshine, and the flavor and the sugar sweetness of that watermelon just blew us away. Like, that was the best watermelon I ever tasted in my entire life. And that's saying a lot. So I've had some good watermelon, especially growing up. So through Johnny's has some excellent varieties. So we're going to do Tropical Sunshine. I went back on there this year. Cracker Jack and Orange Crisp. So we have an orange, we have a yellow, and we have a red variety of watermelon. Now with these seedless varieties, you have to have a pollinator. So what I'm going to do is I've got some landrace watermelons here, and I'm going to be mixing those in to pollinate these. So you don't have to worry about them crossing up. We're not saving seeds from any of the hybrids, especially the seedless one. You'll get a couple seeds in them, but they shouldn't be viable. In the greenhouse this year, we've got some Hatch green chilies. We're doing the Big Jim variety. I've got some actually in there growing that grew through the winter, and they actually have peppers on them right now that are ready to harvest. Zephyr squash, which is, I think it's a green squash with a yellow tip, or I might have that backwards. It might be a yellow squash with the green on the end of it. Those are kind of cool looking, so we're going to try those this year. Sashimi cucumber, Turkish Delight eggplant, Duchess pumpkin, and mellow yellow pumpkin. There's nothing really to look at, no pictures on the front of these Johnny packages. But when you look in their catalog, those look really nice. So the pictures is what really will sell you on buying some seeds. Here's one of my favorite, honey boat delicata squash. We love eating these baked in the oven. Michelle does those things up right. I went out in the garden, I found the tag from last year, and it was still usable, so I'm going to reuse that tag. And then from the supermarket, we have some spaghetti squash, butternut squash, and acorn squash, so we're going to be putting that in the ground. Cherokee tan is always a must for us. Those grow so good down here in the hot, humid South. They very seldom get attacked by the squash vine borers, which really give us a problem on our regular squash. But they seem to leave Cherokee tans alone, and they put off a lot of pumpkins too. I tasted a hammy melon from Publix this past fall, and I had to get the seeds. So I went on Etsy and I ordered some hammy melon seeds, and it's kind of like a cantaloupe crisp, but probably the best tasting cantaloupe flavor I've ever had. And again, that's saying a lot. And I've never really been a big fan of cantaloupe, but I hope these hammy melons turn out as good as those hammy melons. Went up to Kentucky to a homesteading event and picked up some squash from a fellow homesteader, Tromboncino. It's the big, huge squash, kind of like a big butternut, but I'm excited to try that. And then in the greenhouse, we've just got some cherry bell radishes, Paris Island lettuce, which is a romaine type lettuce, and then a bag of spinach. I just get these local at our Feed and Seed, and you can buy them in bulk. For all that spinach seed, that was only $1.25 for all that. So if you can find a place to get your bulk seed at a local Feed and Seed in bulk, that's the way to do it. Because some of these, when you get packages from like Johnny, some of those seeds are like $6, $7 a package, and that can get very expensive. All right, we're gonna get busy sowing them into these seed trays. For my larger seeds, like my squashes and pumpkins, I'm gonna put them in these 2-inch cups. I've already got them pre-filled with ProMix BH with mycorrhiza. And I really like how the seeds do in this. I've used regular potting mix before, and it seems to get more diseases that come up into a regular potting mix. But if you get a Pro Mix that has a mycorrhiza and an antifungal in it, then they really set these things up for success, especially if you can get the ones with the antifungals. So I've already got pushed down. We'll just drop our seeds in there, then I'll sprinkle some soil over the top. Now these little seed trays is what I'm gonna do flowers in. And I picked up a couple of these seed trays whenever I was ordering pots for the nursery. They had some of these used, and if you've got little small seeds you just need to get started, like maybe for vegetables, these are good for onions. And I'm gonna do some of the small seeds in there for the flowers, so that's what we're gonna use that for. All right, go ahead and start popping a few of these in. pop in the comments down below. I'm curious, what's the thing that you are most excited to plant and grow this year? Nicole from Hidden Oaks asked me the other day, whenever we were giving a tour of the greenhouse, she says, what are you and David most excited to grow this year? And I said, figs. She goes, Randall, you're excited to grow figs every year. I'm like, I know it. I just love growing figs. I'm passionate about growing figs as far as my fruits, but as far as vegetables, what am I looking forward to? The watermelons. Second thing I always enjoy growing is Cherokee tan pumpkins. I always love growing tomatoes, but that seems to be the most difficult things to grow down here in the hot, humid South. I've decided that the best way to get tomatoes to grow is in the greenhouse under shade cloth using a hybrid variety that has a high disease resistance. So we've ordered some greenhouse varieties. I've got those growing. We're going to see how those do for us this year. I always love the flavor of the heirloom tomatoes, but I always end up getting a blossom end rot or some kind of wilt will attack it. You've got to get on tomatoes early, get them in the ground, get them harvested here before the heat sets in. Once the heat sets in down here in zone 8B, 9A, it's a real battle to keep tomatoes alive. Except for one, there's one tomato that does very well, grows wild in this area, and that's called the Everglades tomato. It grows wild down in Florida. That thing will pump little cherry tomatoes all summer long. The vines don't stop growing, and they'll produce a ton of tomatoes for you. So another type of, it falls into, I don't even know if it falls into the tomato category, but it's definitely a nightshade that grow wild around here are little husk tomatoes. And they grow around the edge of the field and then abandoned flower beds and stuff. They come up wild, and they'll have these little yellow tomatoes that grow inside these paper husks. And those are good for making verde sauce. And you can find those growing around here. But as far as eating them straight right out of the paper husk, it's probably not my favorite thing to eat. But they are edible, and they make verde sauce, so that's a plus, and they grow wild, they grow good here. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. We're really going all in on the vegetables this year, especially since we got the greenhouse. We are really excited, and we hope to give you updates and show you progressions on how everything is going. All right, so here's an update. 3 weeks later, we have our acorn squash. There's hammy melons, pumpkins, and then our watermelons down here on this end. So these are looking good. We got this fan that's blowing in the greenhouse. It keeps them moving. Got to keep them sturdy and keep them from toppling over so easy. Here's our seed tray of lavender, Canterbury bells, petunias here, gazinias. Here's our zinnias here, chamomiles coming up, marigolds, and then some coxcomb. So we put it in little trays like this because not all the cells are going to germinate. We'll see which ones germinate, and we can pop them out of here. We can up pot them, or we can put them right into the dirt. These little small seedling trays is a great way to start seeds, see which ones are going to germinate, and then you just go from there. So that's why I like these little prop trays. And then over here we have Cherokee tan pumpkins on the end, honey boat, squash, cantaloupe, sashimi cucumber, zafir squash, Big Jim is just starting to come up, the peppers, and then Turkish Delight eggplant. All right, hit the like button, hit the share button, and hit the subscribe button if this is your first time watching. Remember, keep growing, keep building, and always keep adventuring. Together, we're Flemington Famous. We'll see you on the next one.